Hello everybody, welcome back to the Leaf Customs channel. Today we're going to be tearing the bed off and getting a better look at the axle that is currently down there and all the suspension bits. It is currently a very warm, sunny Californian day, whopping 45 degrees and raining. It appears the tent system isn't working as well as I thought. The ground is a little wet and the truck is being leaked on, but the show must go on and we do what we must. So I actually have no idea how this bed comes off. I haven't done any prior research, no videos, no diagrams. So I'm just gonna kind of wing it and see how it goes. The first thing I've got to do though is take out this poorly installed bed liner that the last owner put in. I'm pretty sure it wasn't meant for this truck, judging by the amount of cutting, shaving, and drilling that had to be done for it. But I mean, it served its purpose for the most part, but it's got to go now. You know, actually, there's a whole lot more junk under there than I expected. So it's probably best that I took it off so I can give it a good clean anyway. After a little bit of investigation, the only fasteners on the top side of the bed are these little screws, and these don't seem to be holding it into the frame in any way. I kind of expected as much. I figured most of the bolts would be under the bed, but you know, it couldn't hurt to check, and I did find something, just something not super important. After some more exploration, it would appear that one of the previous hauling escapades by me or the previous owner left a pretty sizable dent in the front of this bed. Luckily, that's nothing that can't be fixed with a little bit of like a DIY dent remover kit. I'll probably do a video on that later, but for now we're just going to leave it because it's not actually affecting anything. It's mostly cosmetic. Now we're going to get the car up in the air and off the ground using our trusty Daytona jacks. I got these at clearance. Harbor Freight. I'm certain they will collapse on me at some point. I live every day knowing it might be my last while using these. So we're gonna put them under the car and hope and pray, and let's get her done. All right, we've got it all the way up on stands, and with my incredible intuition and insight, I decided to put a tarp down underneath it so it's slightly bearable to work under here. Without further ado, let's get going. I've got to say, one of the things I'm most excited for about this axle swap is being able to get rid of these big old bulky 6-lug drum brakes. Not only is the lug pattern impossible to find, we're also going to be moving to a braking system that is more efficient, runs cooler. It's just going to be better all around. These drum brakes are sloshy and they stop the car really slow, so it'll be a definite needed upgrade if we're going to be doing anything with this on the autocross course. All right, I just did some quick prep work, took out the tail lights. It's a total of 4 little screws. Comes out super easy, the wiring super simple. I also took the liberty of taking off the rear bumper since I will not be using it again, and just disconnecting any wires from the bed that were also fed through the frame so that they didn't get ripped out during the removal of the bed process. So now that all of that is done, it should come off smoothly. It's only a couple of bolts down there. The bumper was only 4, so it should be a pretty simple process. The bed is officially off. All it took was 1, 2, 3 bolts on each side, 6 in total, and a little bit of the power of family. And just like that, the bed is off. Now we can start work on removing the axle, the exhaust, possibly relocating the gas tank, depending on clearance issues with the new diff. and go from there. I'd always wondered why a couple of my license plate lights never lit up, even if I replaced the bulb, and I think I found the culprit. We've got this rat's nest here, a couple of wires that lead to absolutely nothing, and of course, just, it's all a mess. So definitely gonna be cleaning that up along with everything else. That's another box on the to-do list, but shouldn't be too hard. Just wrap it all up and make sure it's mounted in a place where it's safe and clean. I know it's not number one on the priority list, but the first thing I'm gonna do is remove this exhaust, because honestly, it is extremely skinny, and I'm gonna have it exiting right before the rear tire anyway, so all of this junk can go. In the midst of pulling the exhaust, and I don't think this muffler was doing much muffling in the first place, so that's definitely a thing. It is the next day. We're gonna start today by power washing everything down, getting rid of this decades worth of grime that probably has cancer causing elements in it. But that's fine, you only live once, and pressure washing this down is going to make it nice and clean and easy to work with, so we can pull the shocks, the axle, the leaf springs, and any other unnecessary things that we will not be using later on down the line. So let's get started. With all that being said and done, I think it cleaned up pretty nice. Most of the dirt and gunk that I thought might have been surface rust is just gone. So yeah, it looks pretty cleanly painted under here still. So we might not have to do too much work back here. Still might respray it before putting the bed back on, just as a precaution, but honestly, it looks not too bad. Throughout the course of taking the shocks and all this off, we're gonna have to keep all of the brackets on for now. In any other situation, I would cut them off. We're not using them again. They're useless, except for the fact that at some point, all of this old suspension has to go back on after we've mocked up the new axle and the 4-link suspension, so it can be rolled up onto a trailer, towed to my buddy's shop who has a welder. We're gonna weld it up there, slap the new wheels on, and then bring it back here for the rest of the engine work. But point being, the brackets have to stay for now, because all the old suspension will be going back on for a brief period of time while we get it to my buddy's shop. I just did something stupid. I spent half an hour, 45 minutes taking the cover off this drum brake because it was seized and rusted, because I was gonna disconnect the e-brake, because I figured, hey, I want an e-brake still once this is all done and finished. So I spent all the time doing that. I was looking at it, and then I remembered I'm switching axles. I'm gonna have Mustang brakes in the rear. There's literally no need for me to keep this cable. I'll have to run a different cable to the front to fit the type of e-brake for the Mustang. So I just spent all that time for nothing, but that's okay. You know, you live and you learn. I will not be doing that on the other side. I'm just gonna cut the cable so I can drop the axle. Now with all that being said and done, all that's left to do is disconnect the drive shaft and then remove the leaf springs and let the axle drop. Figure it's easier that way, and yeah. The great thing about it being a manual car is you can just put it in gear and it'll hold the drive shaft in place while you crack the bolts. Yep. And just like that, we have another video on the Leaf Customs channel done. The axle's out, the exhaust is disconnected, everything is out and ready for the new axle and suspension to go in place. Might be a week or so until then, until I have the money for parts and it finished shipping. But until then, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Ow! Fuck. Now, before you begin work on the car, it is always a good idea to check to make sure your jack points are stable and the car is stable and won't fall on you.